Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Thank you very much for talking to us. First of all, what do you make of the president's statement when he says we may never know all of the facts surrounding the murder of Mr. Jamal Khashoggi? In any case, our relationship is with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They have been a great ally in our very important fight against Iran. What's your reaction to President Trump's response?
I think in this case, it's the right policy and the wrong words. One of the things that America can do, we can't intervene everywhere there's a human rights issue or everywhere there's something we think is egregious. This was egregious. But we can, with our words, talk about our belief that, individual liberty, the idea that people have dignity, and the fact that we believe in freedom of the press, even outside of the United States. So I think that was a missed opportunity. But I want to be clear about this. There hasn't been enough talk about this. Who is driving the opposition to the president's policy? That's important to look at. You have some on the kind of fringe right, like Senator Paul, and you have some on the left that are basically, from the beginning of their career in politics, have wanted us to cut off all relationships with Saudi Arabia. But at the same time, Senator Paul, for instance, is calling for lifting sanctions against Russia, who murders journalists in Moscow, opposition figures, poisons people in the United Kingdom. So this isn't an issue of we have moral high ground from some of these folks. It's a desire to fundamentally shift America's interest in the Middle East.
The president cited the kingdom's influence over oil prices, telling the press, and I'm quoting, if we abandon Saudi, it would be a terrible mistake. He also said he wasn't going to destroy the economy of our country, or over our country, over Khashoggi, by giving up arms and the arms deals to Saudi Arabia. He tweeted this morning, and I want your reaction. Oil prices getting lower, great, like a big tax cut for America and the world. Enjoy, $54 was just $82. Thank you to Saudi Arabia, but let's go lower. Is he putting economic interests above the country's morals?
Look, I don't like that tweet, especially the part about thank you, Saudi Arabia. Again, we can maintain our relationship with Saudi Arabia in a very dangerous part of the world. It's that or Iran. I can point to 1,000 things Iran have done that are 50 times worse than Saudi Arabia. But I think it's also important when it comes to these issues that the United States maintains that even though we can't intervene in every situation where there's a tragedy, we hold to these very strong truths of human dignity. And I think bringing the economic message into it, even though that very well may be the reason we have to align ourselves with Saudi Arabia, or we choose to, is the wrong message to send to the world, frankly, to the country. And I think this would have gone over with a lot less opposition or people being upset if we'd have focused on what Saudi did, how bad it was, and then said, but we can't because, and point out some of those reasons.
Right. I mean, the argument could be made that the United States, it is not our responsibility to get involved in every human rights violation and atrocity all over the world. Look what's happening in China. Look what's happening in North Korea. But then again, sanctions have been brought down on some of those under the Crown Prince, but it seems the Crown Prince ultimately is going to get away with this if indeed the CIA, our own CIA, says that there is evidence that the Crown Prince ordered this murder. The question now is, does Congress get involved? How does Congress, or should Congress, respond?
Well, I don't necessarily think we should get involved because, as I mentioned, I like the policy of basically calling it out, what they should have called it out, in more strong terms, but then understanding that we have to maintain that relationship. But I guarantee you there's going to be people on both ends of the political spectrum that in every spending bill they're going to try to cut off any kind of aid to Saudi Arabia. They're going to do this as an opportunity to inflict damage on the president because, frankly, a lot of folks, foreign policy has just become an issue of right versus left and not an issue of the United States of America.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thank you very much for talking to us. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Anytime. You too.